This podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional advice. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of their affiliated organizations.
Welcome back, everybody, to Ready to Connect. I'm Lisa.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're so excited to continue our Haunted America series with the Southeastern states. We're going to start with Louisiana and go up the Mississippi River, skipping over Tennessee for a little while. And we'll hit Arkansas and Kentucky as well. But before we start on our Haunted America tour, what have you guys been up to since we last saw each other?
I have a great story. So it's not even a story, it's a true story. So Saturday night, Valentine's Day night, in the house, watching TV, just hanging out, doing my thing. And I hear this skittering that went from one end of my house all the way across the other end, up the stairs, and then a very loud meowing. And for anybody that knows me prior, knows that I had a cat named Serafina. She was my baby. She had been through everything with me. She was my life. And yes, I did lose a little girl, the other cat the other week, but this was definitely Serafina. Serafina was well known for just ripping the rug all the way across the house and flying up the spiral staircase on the wood floor and just meowing at the top of her lungs. And she would run into the bedroom, jump on the bed, and then jump off the bed. And this is exactly what I heard. We were just sitting there, and all of a sudden it was Mariah. She was talking away, and you heard this long skittering up the wooden stairs. And it was great to hear from her because it was kind of interesting. And this is how spirit works, right? We always connect when we start thinking about them. And I was kind of sitting in my chair and I was like, wow, I really miss my Serafina. And all of a sudden, boom, that happened. So then we were just kind of sitting, hanging out for a little bit longer. And something else came up and I was like, yeah, I really miss Serafina. And from the kitchen, all you heard was she had a distinct meow when she was excited. And so she definitely came through. She was letting me know she was okay. She's still playing. She's still wandering around and enjoying her spirit life. And it was a great visit. It was a really great visit to hear from her.
Right. I love when our animals come back to visit.
Me too.
You know she's there because you can smell her cat pee.
Oh yeah. You could smell. Yeah. She, at the end of her life, she started losing some of her faculties. Yeah. But when she was a kitten, she was very spry and spunky, and she was a Russian blue. So she had a very, distinct characteristics and personality.
And cat pee. I was talking about my own cat that visits has the cat pee. So that's how I know she's about.
Yeah. Well, you knew Serafina well when you came and helped me out a lot. And yeah, she was a great cat. She was very protective. Whenever Lisa would come over, Serafina would sit directly in the middle of us and she would stare at Lisa like, don't you touch my mom.
I think it was sort of like a couch love seat. And when early on in our business, when we were doing our classes and stuff, got very close so we could look at things. And that's dead. No use for that. She would worm her way in between. She'd look at me and say, back off. What about you, Ryan? What have you been up to?
Well, I haven't really been up to much. I will say something interesting that happened this previous week is I went to our studio office space. I went up to the building and I was going up the stairs, and for our listeners, we have it's like 3 flights of stairs, even though you're only going up two stories, but that's because it's an old building. But as I was coming up around the last round of stairs and peering over into the hallway, I saw a figure, like a shadowy figure type of thing. It was just very brief, and I was like, oh, Could this be Gregory in the hallway? Maybe it was someone else. I don't know. Maybe Gregory's just taking a chance to go out into the hallway. So, but it was just very brief, and it kind of, because I haven't been to the office in a bit. It's been a while. It's like I kind of forgot that I could just walk up there and probably run into a spirit. So like so so it was just a nice reminder of, that there are some spirits there. We know there's at least one named Gregory for our listeners who may not be aware. Yeah, it was pretty cool, a cool experience. But I didn't. I wish I had remembered to take the time to tap in and be like, oh hey, who's this? But I was kind of in a rush, and I was like, oh, I'll probably have to come back and then take the time to talk. But it was still pretty cool. Just kind of someone just standing at the end of the hallway type of thing. So, but pretty cool experience.
All right. Well, for me, I had a really great experience. I last Friday was out in Simsbury doing my soul collage round robin, and I had dropped off my last packet, and I decided to check out a store called the Bell and Raven. Have you guys heard of this place? The Bell and Raven.
No, I haven't heard of it yet. It sounds cool though.
The metaphysical shop. The owner, her name is Isabel Carrington. Lovely, lovely lady. I got to meet and chat with. Was there for quite a while. It's on High Meadow Street in the Simsbury Town Shops if you wanted to go visit. Filled with different kind of, crystals and other metaphysical things that were there. But one of the cool features of this store is where you could create spell jar, manifesting jar, whatever you'd like to call it. And Isabel sat with me for the whole time. I made 3 of them, and it was a lot of fun to do. I learned a lot about the different pieces that went into the jar, whether it was crystal sand or the herbs, and how you could use them for manifesting, and the intention roll that you put in there. And it was just really, really lovely. I put one together that I'm going to give to Heather when I see her later, and I put one together for another friend, and it was just a lot of fun to do. And when you leave, there's this big head of a raven with an open beak, and you write your own intention for yourself and you throw it in the beak, kind of thing, as like manifesting. It was just really a lot of fun to do. It was great to sit and chat with Isabel, very knowledgeable herself. You can get tarot readings and card readings and palmistry there and that kind of stuff. So it could be like a fun day out. And it was just a lot of fun. So I highly recommend a visit to the Bell and Raven. If you're in the area, stop in, see what they have to offer, maybe make a little spell jar. And it was very reasonable, I thought, as far as the price concerned. So definitely check out the Bell and Raven. And next door to the Bell and Raven is a place called Spoonful of Britain, where you can have, it's not quite like a tea shop like what Heather visited in Southeastern, but you can get English breakfast tea. You can get a couple other different kinds of teas, but it's a shop that carries different food products from England. And it was kind of cool to just pop in there and see what's going on. You can have tea with the Queen, they say, and they have a big photo of the Queen on the wall, kind of thing. There's maybe like 5 or 6 tables in there that you could sit and have a cup of tea, or you can get a tea done if you make reservations for it. But it was a fun day. It was really, highly recommend. And, on the weekend, I got to see my sister-in-law and my brother. So it was kind of fun. Yeah, it was a good weekend. Good weekend. Aside from this head cold that will never go away. Good weekend. So are we ready to begin our tour through the Haunted America?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Start with Louisiana, which is a state I took to investigate because I had the wonderful experience of being in New Orleans with my nephew Tim on our cross-country tour. We did stop into New Orleans. We spent a full day there, and we packed it full of stuff to do. But one of the things we did was a ghost tour, of course, a ghost haunted walking tour through New Orleans, mostly in the French Quarter. We started at a voodoo shop.
Oh, wow.
Where you would meet, and we'd start there at a voodoo shop, which was fascinating and lovely. I did not know this. You can have voodoo shops in New Orleans, but it's illegal to practice voodoo in New Orleans. You have to go outside the city limits to practice voodoo.
Really?
Yeah, and voodoo is not an evil thing. I mean,
Right.
it's just a philosophy, a way of doing stuff. It's not considered evil in any way. It was a lot of fun to start there because that was on my bucket list to visit a voodoo shop. So we started there. And ours was a walking tour, not necessarily through the different homes and stuff, but by them and to chat about the stories that happened there. And one of the places, and it's considered one of the more haunted places in New Orleans, was a cemetery, the St. Louis Cemetery #1. I don't know why it's #1, but New Orleans, it's closed to the public. You can't just show up at the cemetery and wander through. The only way to get into the cemetery is to take a tour, a historic to learn about, the cemetery. It's considered the oldest in the city, and it's been added to the Register of National Historic Places. I think the most famous, at least local resident buried at the cemetery is the voodoo priestess or voodoo queen, Marie Laveau, who was considered an amazing healer, and many people would come to her for healing. And actually, at her tomb or where her resting place is, people would put like a triple X on there and leave offerings of flowers and stuff like that in hopes that healing would come from her, even from beyond, for themselves. So reported there are your typical cold spots, feeling like you're being followed as you walk through the cemetery. Shadowy figures are known to be seen and lurking, even if you're walking by the cemetery, not in it. People have seen shadowy figures inside the cemetery. In fact, there's been a couple reports of these figures like running up to those who are passing by, kind of like spooky. There's been this is kind of creepy, eerie knocking sounds from inside the tombs.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if that could be an animal inside the tomb or whatever. But those are what's been reported. We did walk by it. Obviously we didn't get the tour in it. I think they must run ghost tours at night in there, but that wasn't part of what we were doing. But yeah, it was an interesting place. One of the other stops that we had was this is really kind of nasty. The Lalaurie mansion. It's in the French Quarter. It was built in the 1830s. Was owned by a very influential French Creole woman named Delphine Lalaurie. She was very well respected, and she threw big, lavish parties. Right. Come to find out, in this mansion, a fire swept through the house. When the firefighters went there, they discovered up in the attic chained and brutally tortured enslaved people up in this attic.
Wow.
Not just adults, but children. Apparently, she had been torturing hundreds of people and children in this mansion. Talk about like an evil lady. Here she is throwing these lavish parties, well respected in the community, and then this fire happens, and then her secret is revealed, right? Apparently, she escaped and left and never to return. To make charges or anything. Future owners of the mansion will claim that there is a lot of spirit activities there, that the spirits that were the people that were tortured there, those souls are still there, and obviously very tortured. So reports of screams and footsteps. So it's been owned by different people, and mostly owners, as soon as they move in, they soon leave. So we did go by this house. We stopped for a long time. Most ghost tours will stop. You can't own, privately. You can't go in. And I remember snapping a ton of pictures, and I just looked to see if they're still in my Dropbox. I know they were on the travel blog that my nephew and I wrote during our trip, but we caught a ton of orbs all over the house, all over the house, a ton of them.
That's awesome.
Every picture I had all these orbs, large, small, just all over the place. You definitely get a creepy feel through there. When you think about that, how much energy is in that house from tortured kids?
Yeah. That's got to be a heavy energy.
We thought it was bad with the guy who would lead the people to his inn, murder them, and throw their bodies into the river. That's bad enough. But now you find out about this French Creole woman chaining, adults and children up in her attic and torturing them brutally. Well, having a party.
Yeah.
What kind of
Ugh.
people? Crazy. We did
Wow.
well. My nephew and I did go to restaurants while in New Orleans, and one of the more famous restaurants that's haunted there is called Arnaud's Restaurant. It's about 100 years old, 100 plus years old. And what's reported in that restaurant are very friendly spirits. So you have Count Arnaud. He appears, of course, the restaurant's named out. He appears in the main dining room. He's usually dressed in a tuxedo, and he's usually seen surveying and smiling at the guests. So if you're clairvoyant, you might pick that up, get that presence of, you might, if you're like me, you might feel like you're being watched, you know, maybe not in a creepy way, but watched. There's also a woman that will stroll through the dining room. She usually wears a hat, and she'll stroll through the dining room and disappear into the wall. So there must have been a doorway there at one point where she's walking through. To me, that's more residual energy. It's thought that she's probably the daughter, um, Germaine, I think her name was, of the Count, maybe, possibly. Um, Also reported there, which I think would be fun to see, is a group of very well-dressed gentlemen at the bar after just, hanging out, having a drink.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, New Orleans is filled with lots of other kinds of haunts and ghosts and things like that. But those were ones that I actually happened to either go into or happen by and have an experience. But some of the other ones that are in, of course, Louisiana is filled with, as most of these states are, with these ghost stories. One of them is Oak Alley Plantation, which was built in 1837. And it was a sugar plantation. It was also a cattle ranch. It was also part of the Civil War. Apparently, it's named Oak Alley because there's two rows of very large oak trees that create like a tunnel as you're going through there. It's there along the Mississippi River. It was opened to the public in 1976. And since it was then opened, these are some of the events that have happened. Ghostly shadows lurking at a window, looking out a window. So you can, as you come up to this plantation house, look at the windows. You might be able to see someone looking out at you. The sound of horse and carriages when there's no horse and carriage there. Lights will flicker, sounds of footsteps, and not to disappoint, there is a lady in white that stands on the balcony gazing at the river.
Awesome.
Perfect.
I know we gotta have our ladies, right?
Our ladies.
No one really knows if she's the mistress of the house or if she was a slave, because a lot of these plantations, of course, looking out over the river. But the most impressive account of spirit activity comes from when there was a tour going on. 35 people, so it's not just one off, 35 visitors on this tour saw a brass candlestick fly across the room right in front of them.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh. That's some big telekinesis energy, like telekinetic energy. To be able to do that, how
I know.
much energy is being drawn? Wow, it really used like everybody's energy in the room to do that.
Right. And of course, as a debunker or someone who's skeptical, you might think, well, was it on like a fishing line and pulled across or whatever? With 35 people there, someone would have noticed something funky like that. So that's a pretty impressive account, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, there's all kinds of other event, like the old state capitol in Baton Rouge has its spooky stories too. But I'm going to end with probably one that most people have heard about. If not, you can visit this place. You can actually stay there because it's a bed and breakfast, and that's the Myrtles Plantation. Myrtles Plantation is in St. Francisville. It is a 1796 antebellum plantation house. So, Heather, you would love that. It
For
used
sure.
it used to be a cotton and indigo plantation. And in 1835, it got its name as the Myrtles Plantation, obviously because of all the myrtle trees that are on the property. I have like the history of when it was opened and stuff like that. In 1980, I will tell you this part of the history. In 1980, a couple named James and Frances Kerman Myers acquired it and they opened it up as a B&B. In 1992, Francis wrote a book about all the hauntings that happened at the Myrtles plantation. And then in 1992, that same day, the Moss family buys it and captures a photo of its most famous ghost called Chloe. And I'll tell you about Chloe in a minute. If you fast forward now to into the 2020s, this is a 20 guest room bed and breakfast. It has a restaurant, a coffee shop, gardens, tours, the whole shebang. So it can definitely be like its destination in and of itself, so to speak. But here is the story of the most famous ghost. It has many ghosts and spirits. Obviously, it was a plantation. It had a lot of slaves. You've got a lot of that energy. You know, you're going to hear the typical things you'd hear in a haunted space, the footsteps, the horse and carriage. It has been reported that you will see kids playing on the porch. You can hear piano music, and also doors will open and close on their own. Right? So here is the story of Chloe, the ghost of Chloe that is said to be here and most active. She was Chloe was a slave. She was punished for eavesdropping. And because she fell out of favor with her owners and punished, in order to get back into good favor, she concocted a plan to bake a poisonous cake. I'm not sure, follow logic, bake a poisonous cake to get the family sick so that she could then nurse them back to health. And that would bring her back into good favor. Of course, as you can imagine, what do you think happens when you bake a poisonous cake and feed it to people?
They all died.
Yep.
Instead, those family members died. And of course, there's been throughout the different people who've owned this place, there's been other tragedies of illness and murder that follow. And so when you go to visit, I think, aside from all the footsteps and the doors opening and closing, one of the things that will happen is that these spirits who are still here, including Chloe, will appear in photos. So you'll take a photo and you'll see like the ghostly shadow or the essence of a face. And also they appear in mirrors. You know, you could see in mirrors. And that's been witnessed by many, many people who take tours there, residents of the Myrtle plantation, as well as the several TV shows that have highlighted this place as a haunted place. So the Myrtles is one of those places that you can go and actually, much like the Airbnb that I talked about in Maryland, where you can go and actually spend a night in a haunted place. Well, you can go to Myrtle's plantation and ask for a haunted room. So there you go. Of course, I could go on and on and on in Louisiana, but it's not the Louisiana show. Let's up to Mississippi to Arkansas. What you got there, Ryan?
Oh, well, I was gonna say, okay, so can you call them up and be like, "Hey, I want the haunted room"? Like, is that?
Yeah,
There you go.
hey, I'd like to stay in one of the haunted rooms. You'll probably get the response that the whole place is haunted, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But
No one's gonna get locked in a bathroom or anything, or no? Okay.
no, there was no non-believer bathroom. Although I'm telling you, I'm very intrigued by that Airbnb in Maryland. I mean, like,
What's Maryland? It's like a 6-hour, 8-hour drive, 9-hour drive. I think we could do it. Road trip.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think last I checked, it's at least 5 hours.
Yeah, we could totally do it.
Yeah, do that in a day.
That's all.
Well, speaking of Airbnb and places to stay, so in Arkansas, I found a couple. I guess they're hotels. Yeah, so we're gonna find some more rooms that are haunted.
Oh, there we go. We can go to Arkansas.
Yeah, which, to be quite honest, as we keep doing this series, I find it so fascinating that we're finding similar things that people are seeing, hearing, sensing. It's incredible. So I just find it so fascinating, just everything that we're sharing.
I also find that, spiritual energy, there's only certain ways that they can make a contact, right?
True.
And residual energy is residual energy. And a lot of times it's the same apparition or the same sound or smell. But other than that, if it's intelligent, they can only like flicker lights, or they can open things or move things, so.
Right. That's
or
true.
shove people downstairs, as reported last week, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, who knows? As we're going through this series, maybe we'll find spirits are doing different things somewhere else. I don't know. We'll find out.
maybe, maybe.
But but yeah, so I did find a hotel called the Crescent. It's in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. It was first built in 1886. It's on top of a hill. It was originally supposed to be a resort destination, but then it just changed through different hands and became different things. So over the years, so for instance, it's because of some tragedy that happened as well, misfortune. One thing that happened was there was a local stonemason named Michael who fell to his death during construction of the building. They say that today his spirit is said to linger, especially around room 218. So, because that's the site where he fell, so his spirit may still be there. Over the years, like the hotel went, it changed and they repurposed it to a college for young women. So you may see, I'll tell you about another spirit that some people have seen as well, a woman walking through the halls. And then lastly, it also became a hospital because in 1937, Norman G. Baker, a self-proclaimed doctor without a medical license, he there we go, bought the building and turned it into Baker Hospital, claiming that he could cure cancer with his own treatments. So many patients did not leave the hospital because under his care they didn't survive.
They weren't cured.
No, they
Shocker.
were not.
He was probably serving like cocaine elixir.
Yeah, there you go. Possibly. Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, back in the day, right?
Yeah,
That's what a lot of the apothecary was. Even
sure.
right up into what the 50s or 60s, where Coca-Cola was still putting cocaine in their soda. So yeah,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
come
I,
on by for your dose of cocaine.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, you have a toothache, here's some cocaine.
Exactly.
So,
It'll take care of everything
yeah,
and make the tooth fall out.
yeah. There you go. So I guess that cures it.
Right? Yeah.
Um, so some people have found bones, bottles of fake medicine, surgical equipment from that era. It was uncovered at the property. So, yeah, I found that interesting.
It'd be
But,
really cool to find an old piece of glass, though.
mm,
Old glass is so cool to find, right? Antique wise.
oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I know that would be cool to find that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Or
So,
it'll be even cooler for Ryan to find an old coin. Let's
oh,
stay
there
on
we go.
Yes.
plan.
Yep. So,
Yes.
so yeah, whenever we go on these adventures, I'll be looking for coins.
Absolutely. I'll be joining you. I got one of those metal detectors. Till
Oh,
my
even
arm
better.
falls off, we could be out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we could find a lot of stuff.
We
So
got to
yeah.
find that penny that's going to make us thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. I can talk about it at another time of different coins we could be looking for, but but not during this episode. So it could take a whole other hour. Anyway, so I just explained to my parents over the weekend about a quarter that they could be looking for. But anyway, so some ghosts or spirits that have been found on they have had ghost tours, paranormal investigations at this place, and there's been some sightings, and there's been a couple spiritual figures that are tied to this place, so or tied to the Crescent. So that first ghost that I mentioned, Michael, the stonemason, once again he's located usually around room 218 and in the nearby hallways. Guests also report that he flickers the lights. There's doors slamming, cold spots, and once again the sensation of being watched. So they're thinking they're tying that to him because it's in that area. There is a woman named Theodora, believed to have been a former cancer patient from that hospital. Housekeepers and guests claim that she appears around room 419 They see her often like tidying up some things, or sometimes they see her fumbling with keys and then she disappears. So as if she's trying to get into the room and then disappears. So I found that interesting.
Question.
Hmm.
So she was a patient or she worked there?
That's what I'm wondering too. They're saying she was a former cancer patient. So
Why would she have keys to
that's
the
what I'm
door?
wondering too. Yeah,
I'm wondering if there's more to that story.
that's what I'm wondering too. Yeah, maybe perhaps she had access to different rooms or.
Yeah, not normally a patient would have access to
Right.
rooms. So I'm wondering if because she was a survivor, she had a job there. I mean, that we'll have to do a little extra homework on that one
Yeah.
because I don't know any patients that get rooms to keys for a room other than your own. But nowadays you don't have keys to your room.
Right. Right. I wonder if back then did they have keys to their room? I don't know.
Question.
Absolutely, most likely, right?
1930s. I don't know.
1930s, absolutely. But the way you're describing it makes me think she had like a whole ring of keys. So
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
yeah, maybe she took some roll on after her survival,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to help others. Maybe we'll look into it. Keep
See,
Yeah.
my,
going.
my mind went somewhere else. Maybe she stole the key so that she can release people. So they,
Oh, there you go.
you
Maybe.
know,
Maybe she's
Little
a
murder
hero.
mystery.
yeah. Don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to look into this more. Visitors have also described seeing a gentleman in Victorian attire in the lobby or the near stairway. Sometimes they actually see dancers in the dining room. There's even like a waiter carrying a tray through the halls. There's also been a nurse that they've seen pushing a gurney down a hallway. Um, so I found that all fascinating, that there's a lot going on.
For
So,
sure. Absolutely.
um, but yeah, but once again, related to what you were saying too, Lisa. Yeah, they found like cold spots, footsteps, orbs in photos, um, voices, you name it. Yeah, so that was pretty much it for that. The other place I found was the Arlington Resort Hotel and Spa. Apparently, a lot of hotels are haunted. And so this is in Hot Springs, Arkansas. It originally opened in 1875. It's a city in the centerpiece of Hot Springs. It's a city famous for its hot mineral springs, and it's also gone through like the hotel itself has gone through fires, rebuilds, renovations. Um, there's been a famous guest like Al Capone, and so all types of things happening there. Let's see. So the ghost or spirits that visitors have seen is a little girl in a pink dress seen in the lobby and hallways. There's a woman in a wedding gown observed on upper floors or near staircases. She's often like seen kind of just staring or moving a bit, and then she just vanishes.
Another lady in white.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a bellman in the period uniform walking the halls, especially on the fourth floor. And then there's a man in a black suit who appears in the laundry area. So, and then there are specific rooms that things happen. So in room 824, it's described as the haunted hotspot.
Oh,
So
they
guests report seeing lights flickering, faucets turning on and off by themselves.
Whoa.
Yeah, I found
That,
that. I was like, okay, that's different.
and
Yeah, how would.
again, that makes my brain go, how wow, here are some spirits that are able to gather enough energy to move a faucet on.
so
Like,
I've had that happen actually here in
Really?
my house. Yeah.
Hmm.
I've had a faucet go on. Yeah.
really? No,
Yeah.
I haven't been privy to that one hanging out with you for the last 13 years, but
So it was I think it was before I met you. Um yeah, after Pop died. Yeah.
wow.
That's
We used to have a
fascinating.
lot of weird things happen. A lot of electronic toys would go on and off, footsteps, and I remember like how did in the bathroom, how did that faucet go on? Like why is that running?
Hmm.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that
It's
that's
different.
incredible.
It's very different. Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely would make you wonder too. Like, how's that happening?
Well, yeah. I mean, like just hearing my cat skitter across the floor is like, oh, hey, even though I've been this way my whole life, right? Like this, still, when certain things happen, you're like, yeah, that's real. But if a faucet turned on in my house, oh yeah, I'd be pulling out the Palo Santo, the sage, the crosses, the goddesses. I mean, like, what
Really?
are we doing right now?
Yeah. I don't know. It didn't really, I didn't find it any more alarming than, all the electronic trucks and stuff in my son's room going off at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that happened when Marcello was a little girl. Toys would just go off for no reason. Some even without batteries in them would go off, but never had never had a faucet turn on. I
Or
definitely would start saging the house. I'd be like, listen, we can't do the scare tactic stuff.
I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't. I don't know. I guess well, I go off my feels, and I didn't feel like anything threatening was happening. So I guess it just, I just kind of like, oh, pops in the bathroom. Let's turn off the water. Keep it running.
What was it, like a dripping, or was it like a full like
It
running
wasn't
water?
full on shh, but it wasn't a drip. It was
Mhm.
definitely on. It
Yep.
was definitely, I had to turn it off, kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. And like I said, it wasn't like I'm sitting here and all of a sudden hear the faucet go on. It was more like I was going up through the upstairs and I'm like, and checking the bathroom, like, why is that faucet running? Kind of thing.
Wow. That's awesome. That's incredible. So at least you've had experience with this, so that's interesting. Because at first, when I was looking at this, I was like, really? Like they're actually turning the faucets on
It
and
would
off?
be really cool to like been in the bathroom and that happened.
Ah, yeah,
That might be maybe a little more startling, you know?
sure.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you get startled when the lights flicker or when, your radio turns on?
Not
I mean,
anymore. No,
kind of
I'm just
thing.
like, oh.
So I don't know. I guess I just look at it as another thing that can happen, but maybe if I was sitting there, maybe if I was on the good old commode and all of a sudden the faucet turns on, I'd be like, okay, I'll wash my hands, I promise.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. No, I hear you. Oh, that's funny. So yeah, and then also in that room, aside from faucets turning on and off, they see like small items being moved without explanation. So, and I feel like we've covered that in other areas as well. It,
I think that happens probably all over the world.
yeah.
Little things can move, or mirrors or pictures tip, or just to get your attention. I mean, even in the 13 years that Lisa and I have been doing readings together, we often can pull in like, certain curtains in the kitchen windows, or a specific place grandpa used to read the newspaper at the table, and that's still happening in their house because it's
Hmm.
residual energy. So yeah, I mean, we like to think we do things uniquely, but the bottom line is we all eat, sleep, eat, right, and put our clothes on the same way everybody else does. So it's not surprising all over the world. There's little, bits and pieces that are reoccurring.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean,
Hmm.
even like overseas,
Hmm.
I can't wait for us to get into like the UK and all the overseas stories, right? Like, it's going to be incredible.
I
And
I can imagine.
probably not much a lot different than what's happening here in this country.
Right, right. Absolutely.
But going into another country for investigation, we have to kind of learn some of their folklore and their legends, and like more about that culture, because it's not going to be the same as obviously the Americas.
Right, right. That's a good point too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I wish America took a siesta from, 3 to whatever every
There you
day.
go.
Do it anyway. Let's do it anyway.
Yeah.
You rebels.
Sorry, I have to go nap. It's 3 o'clock.
There you go.
That's
I'd have a hard time with that, to be honest, because I don't typically nap, but
Yeah, I'm not
Right.
a napper either, but I could definitely take a siesta.
Yep. Oh, So before I forget, there's actually two more things about this place.
Tell us.
Room 443, that was known for Al Capone's favorite suite. So visitors say if they go in that area, they can smell his cigar smoke. Because I know we were talking about like pipes the other week, but yeah, they can smell his cigar smoke, even though the hotel is non-smoking. So they attribute that to it could be just his spirit lingering there, or
Yeah,
residual
but back in
energy.
the day, it probably wasn't a non-smoking hotel. I mean, you used
Correct.
to be able to smoke in a hospital back in, early era. Like
Right.
our health regulations have come a long way.
Yes. Yep.
So
Yep.
I wouldn't doubt that he was. And from knowing some of Al Capone's history, um, he he was a very dominating figure and he was very pampered, even right
Hmm.
down to when he was in jail. He was pampered. He had his own cell, he had his own desk, he had his own chairs, and like he was a very pampered man due to him being a lead figure and as a
Hmm.
mobster. So
Well, wasn't his cell in the Eastern State Penitentiary, the one in Philadelphia, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he died from syphilis there.
Mm.
Yeah, he essentially at the end of Al Capone's life, he was essentially like completely crazy from syphilis,
Hmm.
which he had passed to like millions of women. Um, it's great. So hopefully, when we go to his room, we're not going to get like spiritual syphilis because I don't want to handle it.
Nah. Uh-uh. Nope.
Oh
Nope.
my word. Oh my
I'll
word.
take smelling the cigar smoke over that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the cigar
Yeah.
smoke any day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Oh my word.
And then I found this next. This is the last thing I'll share about this place. So aside from faucets turning on and off on their own, they also had elevators appear to move and stop on their own, especially on the floors where there's activity. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome. That I
yeah,
would love to see because I'm sure it's those old cage kind of elevator where you have to
Yeah.
like
Like
snap
at
the door.
Red Lion Inn, they have that kind of old elevator. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so cool to be standing there and just have that. Oh, yeah. And then hopefully clairvoyantly, like see the spirit come off. That would be fantastic.
that would be incredible. Yeah. So found that fascinating. I'd be curious if any of our listeners have ever gone to these places and if they've experienced something like that. I mean, or maybe if they've experienced elevators moving and stopping on their own somewhere else. Like that'd be cool to hear about.
Yeah, would be for sure.
Especially the old elevators that were all weighted, so it's not mechanical,
Hmm.
those
Yeah.
weighted, the old fashioned were all weighted and pulley toward, with pulleys and everything. So if it's moving, that's pretty, I'd like to witness that. Definitely.
Yeah.
I goosebumps just thinking about
And
it.
and the fact that it's also like stopping where, then as you said, like if a spirit gets off and going wherever to their room, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I've been on elevators. Okay. I've been on elevators in different hotels where you get on and it stops. The door will open. Nobody comes on and nobody gets off. And then it closes up and it continues on. You have to wonder, all right.
Hmm.
Who pushed the button?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or did someone catch it? I always figured it's, somebody else took the stairs instead of waiting or whatever.
Right.
But you make me think, like next time I'm staying in a hotel, even, it's funny, all the places that are haunted, all these old places, right? I want to find a place that was built in the, 2015 or 2020 and is haunted.
Hmm.
Well, the only way you're going to find that is if the land was haunted and they didn't disgraced it building the proper, building the hotel, or a
Yeah.
tragic accident happened there prior to the hotel going up. I don't
And
know. That's a good question. We're going to have to do some research on that too.
like, is there anything recent built that is considered haunted, do the spirit? And I would love to find a place aside from this Arnaud's restaurant where there are happy ghosts. I want to go into a place instead of feeling gloom and doom and someone watching you that there's a party going on and it's all fun and
Yeah, I'm down.
yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes me think like, okay, all those times I've been on an elevator and it's happened more than once. The doors open and then shut. Nobody gets
Mhm.
on, nobody gets off. And the from what I from what I remember, it's usually when I'm coming down, there's nothing on, like the button's not pushed, like the floor's not pushed. So in my mind, it's somebody on that floor that pushes the button for the elevator to stop so they can get on. But I just figured they took the stairs instead, kind of thing. But now I'm gonna think about that.
I
Now,
know, like when the doors open, are you gonna look around, see if like step out, look around, see if anyone's there, and then then go back into the elevator? I'd be tempted to do that.
would
Like
you go back
who
to the
pushed it?
elevator and be in close proximity to a ghost who just got on? Would
Yeah.
you? I would, but I mean,
Totally. I'd get my voice recorder going and be like, hey, who is this? Who is
Hey.
it? Who are you?
Exactly. Exactly.
That reminds me of, I want to say, oh my God, I don't know how many years ago this was. Uh, I don't know if it was on social media or on YouTube or whatever it was, seeing um video capture inside elevators from elevator cameras of like ghostly things happening. I gotta look
Ah.
it up now. I have a vague memory of that, and I've got to look that up now. That's one thing. Heather, we're gonna do that when you come over. We're gonna look up YouTube videos of elevator cameras.
Okay, perfect. I like that. Sounds like a fun afternoon. I have been in an elevator probably in my maybe it was in my 20s. I was definitely either like 18 or 19. And I remember getting into an elevator, and I don't even remember where it was. But now that you guys are talking about elevator stories, I remember getting on an elevator and seeing clairvoyantly this female body all mangled in the corner of the
Oh,
elevator, and
Mm.
it was just a figure. It didn't speak to me. It didn't ask for help. There was no even residual other than the imagery was residual. But I found it interesting that nobody would stand in that corner of the elevator
Hmm.
where we were. We were there for at least a week and a half. So we were obviously using the elevator continuously, and continuously her shadow was like murdered in the corner of this elevator. Um, but nobody would stand in that corner of the elevator. You'd
and
watch
you didn't
people.
you didn't muster up the courage to go stand in that corner?
Of course I did, but I
Oh,
wanted to witness what everybody else was doing if people were picking it up inadvertently. Of course I did. I'm all
what
about that.
happened? What happened?
Nothing.
Nothing.
It was just a figure.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think people who are not tapped into their all their clairs still have that little kind of like hair on the back of their neck stands up, or deja vu moments, or goosebumps, or just that feeling of, I don't know, like I'm going to stand here instead of there.
Right.
But it was interesting to watch throughout that, time period of just who wouldn't stand in that corner
Yeah.
Hmm.
Sure.
because they didn't want to step on our poor head, on our poor murdered head. No.
Ouch.
But I do remember that. That was a long time ago,
Wow.
obviously. So what else you got, Ryan? You got another
Well,
haunting?
nope, that was it. So, Heather, where did you land with your
We're kicking
hauntings?
it in Kentucky, man. We're kicking it, the bluegrass state. Absolutely love it. Definitely where lots of old bones and lots of decades of, Civil War and lots of hills and legends and whatnot going on. And of course, just because I took this on and now I don't feel like I can stop, is I had to look up all the lovely ladies of Kentucky
Absolutely.
and,
Yeah.
check it all out. And, it's interesting. One lady who came up instantly was the gray lady at Liberty Hall.
Oh,
Uh,
we haven't had a gray lady yet.
I know. I'm excited. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a gray push pin though, so we might have to put like little tags of colors.
I might have a gray one. I don't know.
Well, if not, we'll figure out how to mark it all. But this dates back all the way to the 1840s, and there are reports right up until 2024 that I could see that this is actually happening. She was known as a sorrowful woman. She wore lots of beautiful gowns, and she is based around the Civil War kind of going into the Civil War kind of era. But she is from Frankfort, Kentucky, and often said her name is Margaret Varick, and she is the grieving woman tied to this beautiful home. And there are, again, sightings from 1840 all the way up to recent. She is not considered intellectual. She's more considered as residual, but in a lot of the stories I found for her, a lot of people felt like she was benevolent, like that she was kind of that eerie apparition that lurked around the staircases and the windows, and sometimes joining tours that, because you can actually go there to this day for a live tour. But the consensus throughout the stories was that she suffered personal tragic loss, and tragically and emotionally her mind never went back to faith and hope and happiness. And so it's like a natural imprint within the home of her, kind of lurking around, that she's sad, she's looking for who she needs, but because it's residual, nobody can clear that energy. It's not intellectual, so she's not interacting. But I think that's just a reminder that, we have to have hope, we have to have faith. You don't need to go to a church to pray, but you can always have hope if you're not religious. And she lost hope, and it clearly shows in all the stories about Margaret that, it's not like today in the 2026 where we have mental health services. There were none back then in the 1800s, right? And even back then, it shows how important mental health is, but they didn't know what to do with it back then either. But then I moved on, and I went to the Sealback Hilton in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's the Lady in Blue. And I believe we've had several ladies in blue already.
We have, yeah.
But another lady in blue, her name was Patricia Wilson. She was known as the Lady in Blue. And her legend settles around 1930s. She's known to be the blue lady in the blue gorgeous dress wandering the 8th floor. But everybody says that she's generally accompanied by disembodied cries, which means either you're physically hearing crying in your physical ear, or you're hearing her cry as like disembodied. So it's like almost internally you're hearing her cries. But everybody that goes in there says there's a very distinctive smell of her perfume, and which was probably all natural back then in the 1930s, but very distinct smells of her perfume. And they say it's because she too had a tragic love story and a tragic death. And she supposedly died in an elevator shaft.
Oh, wow.
So
these elevators, I don't know.
Yeah. And it's interesting because there was always speculation that her husband did it. Even though they had reconciled their marriage, she mysteriously later on tragically died in this elevator shaft. So there's a lot of, interesting stories that go around our beautiful Lady in Blue. But she is recorded to be, to make herself, in your eyesight, whether it's with your eyes closed, with your eyes open, you can psychically see her, which I thought was really cool. Then I moved on to the Crybaby Bridge in Sleepy Hollow Road. And this turned out to be like the classic American ghost story. It's said that children had, died. And so by this bridge, so when you go to the bridge, you can hear the cries of children. You hear echoing under the bridge. And apparently there's a deeper tragic story, which I didn't have a chance to really dig up. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more. But I don't always like to look up tragic stories. I want to hear the happy ghost stories. So
I know. Tragic, you can find a tragic anywhere. Let's get the happy one.
Yeah, I want the happy ones. But apparently this is Kentucky's version of Sleepy Hollow. And there's lots of eerie sounds reported, which, again, I'm gonna go throw out the skeptics, the skepticism there because I haven't been there. Is the eerie sounds actually the bridge creaking? Because bridges do creak, right? Are the cries, laughter? Or are they cries of sorrow? And why are they echoing? So there must be some form of water, which water is a fantastic conduit. So in the spirit world, so there's a lot of legend that I couldn't clear up about this one. But anything involving a child, you wish them well, you send them prayers, and hope that maybe their tragic story can be healed. But it doesn't sound like that. Then I moved into the old Talbot Tavern in Bardstown, Kentucky. It was built in 1779. So this place has history, of course. Maybe even history that's not documented. I love that kind of stuff. But this is one of the oldest structures in the area. And it is said to host a gallery, which I found that's a great word to use when describing what's going on in the building. And it's a gallery of spirits, including Jesse James is said to be seen here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And a mysterious woman. So I don't know. Sounds like Jesse James had a little love affair going on with someone. I don't know much about Jesse James' story. I've seen some documented information about Jesse James, but yes, the mysterious woman who is still seen in the tavern today. And it is reported that you will hear marching of soldiers. You will hear the old time travelers with the pewter cups on their belts. So when they went into the tavern, they could set their cup on the bar. And it's said that, throughout history, spirit has left their mark there. And the spot is actually located behind a historic inn. So you can go there, you can stay there, and maybe even pull up your pewter cup and have a cuppa. I don't know. But anybody that's been there, I'd love to hear from any of these stories that we've heard throughout, Lisa, Ryan, and myself. If you've been there, please fill in some gaps for us. I find it fascinating. So there were a few more other stories, but I couldn't find some really good details about it. So in closing, there was one more woman. She was the lady in white. She was the woman in white, and Gahuli Hollow in Grayson, Kentucky. Local accounts describe her as a woman in white roaming the woods near a burned farmhouse. And so I can only imagine that she must have lost her home due to a fire, massive fire. And they local legends say that the image fits that typical white lady ghost lore, where she's moaning, she's walking around the property, she's howling, she's sad. She's looking for, probably most likely, her family, if it was due to the farmhouse burning down. And there wasn't a whole lot that I could pull up about it, but seeing how we're doing the ladies in colors, we have to add her into that one.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know about you guys. I know, Heather, you were focused on the ladies, but I don't know, Ryan, when you were looking in Louisiana, there was a ton of cryptids talked about.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing a cryptic series.
Yeah.
We're probably gonna have to do a whole series. You're right.
There were so
definitely. There's cryptics everywhere, and I just love cryptic stories because I've actually never witnessed a cryptic kind of haunt. So
no, I've never run across a cryptid either, I don't think.
I don't believe I have. I don't know. How about you, Ryan? You ever find yourself in the presence of a ghoul or a unnamed animal? I don't know.
Not yet, no.
I don't count that, the energy that I caught on camera in Ireland to be cryptid. That was more spiritual, elemental, but these and it was funny because one of the ones in Louisiana was called Grunch. And I'm like,
oh. Well, stay tuned for Grudge in some part of our series coming forward.
But the ladies are fascinating. Have we had a lady in purple? I want a lady in purple or
I
violet.
think we did, actually.
Did we?
I don't remember one.
No, maybe it's been blue.
Yeah, we
I
had
don't know.
We've had white, blue, pink, green, red, black, and gray.
yeah.
You have such a good memory.
Yeah. But we need a lady in purple. We need a lady in gold, a lady in silver. We need a polka dot lady.
Ooh, ooh, that
Ooh.
would be fun.
Lady in orange. We haven't had orange or
No.
yellow.
Nope. Yeah.
Oh.
So we need to find more of the ladies in different colors, and then also apparently we have to find Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yes.
So-
Oh, I see them all the time. Casper's great. But I did a quick Google search, and we have not yet to get to this state. So stay tuned when we do get up to Utah and the Rio Grande, we will talk about the beautiful lady in purple. She came right up, actually. So more to come.
More to come, more to come. And for all our listeners out there, just know that we are, if you're in the Connecticut or close to the Connecticut area, we will be at the New Age Fair, March 29th in Wethersfield. You can look for more information on that on our social media accounts. And we are also doing a live taping on May 4th here in Coventry. Check out, Coventry, Connecticut. That's right, because there is one in Rhode Island. Check that out. You could check out, register for that on either the Serenity Grove Wellness Center website or the Artist Haven Media website, and register for that. We'd love to have you come out and see it. And if at any time you have a haunted story or something you'd like to share with us, you can reach out on ready to connect podcast@gmail.com. Definitely reach out, or through our socials, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah. And if you get a affirmation to end with, I grabbed one, if you'd like.
Right. I also want to say, for anybody that doesn't have email or is not able to articulate the ghost story or folklore that you know of in writing, please feel free to pull up serenitygrove.com and use our toll-free number, and one of us will be happy to hear your story and mention it here on the podcast and give you credit for and kudos for it. We look forward to interacting with all of our listeners, so it's fantastic.
So in honor of Valentine's Day that passed, I have a affirmation for self-love, but not your typical "I love myself" or "I forgive myself" or "I am enough." Want it? Here it is. I give myself permission to be myself.
Oh, how freeing that is.
I know.
That's a good
So
one.
often we take on roles that other people want us to take on or expectations of others, but I give myself permission to be myself. I like that one.
And that is such a great affirmation, because I think in our early years of life, we spend our lives, some people, not all, people pleasing or doing things to conform because we were raised a certain way, to behave a certain way, dress a certain way, talk a certain way, right? And here's permission to just be authentic you. Just be the best version of yourself. And if
Right.
people don't like it, don't talk to me. If people don't like the way you dress, they don't need to look at you. Like, that's very self-empowering. Be authentic.
Being very freeing. So anyway, we all three of us look forward to connecting with you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to Ready to Connect. If you're interested in exclusive behind-the-scenes content, be sure to like, share, and follow us on social media by searching for Ready to Connect Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And for those looking to further support our podcast, consider subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/readytoconnectpodcast. And until next time, get ready to connect.